Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This kind of sums it up from Sheriff Joe Arpaio of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in Phoenix, Arizona. A liberal paradise would be a place where everybody has guaranteed employment, free comprehensive health care, free education, free food, free housing, free clothing, free utilities, and only law enforcement has guns. And believe it or not, such a place does exist even today. It's called a prison. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on a Monday. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. Here's Kate Smith. Thank you very much, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, your host, and of course, we're going to be here for the next 3 hours on Zeb at the Ranch, sponsored by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and of course, some of our great advertisers too, like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Start on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Well, we say good morning to the lovely, vivacious brunette over at the studio. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, sunshine, and how goes it today with you?
Really good. Could you possibly boost the feed line up to me just a little bit, please, if you would? I don't want to miss a single tone of your voice.
You sure?
Well, we talked about that before we went on the air. Oh, dear. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. It was mostly filled with cleaning the house.
Uh-huh. Sounds like it was a real fun time to be had by all.
Oh, yes, and I made the boys work at it, too, so they were none too thrilled with me.
I'll bet you James was looking forward to adios.
He was. He was like, I'm out of here, babe. Okay. I've had enough cleaning.
Hey, I understand Al's on the phone.
We've got Al on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. Well, we'll say good morning to Al. Would you give us the pledge, please?
You betcha, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do not ever have to worry about you giving a great rendition of our pledge. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
Zeb,
yes, sir.
Did you watch the debate between Simpson and Smith?
Honestly, I did not, and I was not home, and I missed it. And why? You got some highlights for us? Go ahead.
Well, we took and made a special point to watch it, and my point of view is they're both liars, but the best liar was Smith, and then Simpson. I don't know, Zeb, if something's going on, because if Smith is one of these kind of shyster lawyers that want to go after the veterans and sue them, I won't vote for the sucker.
Yeah.
That Simpson will not tell us the truth about him and White Clouds.
There's a lot of issues that remain, I think, in a very, very gray area, White Clouds being one of them, with both candidates, quite frankly. And I'm going to try to get both candidates on my program in the next couple of weeks prior to the primaries. Al, thank you. I appreciate that information, and I'll get a tape of that, and I'll take a look at it. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
All right, sir. It's time for the weather, and it's brought to you by some really good friends of mine. Save on Shells, Anthony and the rest of the crew at 18 1835 Overland in Burley, and you can check on shells for your camper. I'll tell you more about that shells for, I should say, for your pickup to help protect all the saddles, tools, groceries, everything in the back of that pickup bed with Save on Shells. We'll tell you more, but here's Michael Rogers' weather.
It'll be cloudy today, and you got some wind to come along with it under the west 20 to 30 miles an hour. Otherwise, more sun than clouds, but you will see the clouds today. 61 for the high, 34 for the overnight low. The winds should die down later on tonight, and you got sunny weather for the next 10 days with the daytime highs in the upper 60s going all the way up to possibly the low 70s by you get to the weekend. There you go. Have a great day.
There you go. Michael Rogers Weather calling us from all the way up in Alaska. Thank you very much, Michael. Save on Shells. My goodness, they've got the new ARE shells. Many, many different models. Don't you dare say, well, I couldn't find what I wanted. Yes, you can right there at Save on Shells, 1835 Overland in Burley. And besides that, they've got a fantastic selection of used shells and commercial shells for the welders and the painters, etc. And the bed slides that help save a lot of work, picking stuff up and having to carry it along. No way. These bed shells bring it right back to you. You're going to love the bed slides. They really save a lot of work and effort on your part. Installation, parts, and service, absolutely the best. It's Save on Shells, 1835 Overland and Burley with Anthony, 312-1525. How do I know so much about them? Well, the reason is I bought one from Save on Shells. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, about the Keystone Pipeline, you know, this character that's willing to give to the Democratic Party $100 million if President Obama will cancel the pipeline. Now, is that extortion, or what do you call that?
Well, it's just nothing more than kowtowing to the environmental base, and we're going to be talking about that later on this morning, as a matter of fact, with Matt Dempsey with the IER, and how we desperately could use the oil sands, how it desperately would help lower the price at the pumps here in this country. Also, the Keystone would provide many, many jobs that we need. There's nothing wrong with that pipeline. There are already literally hundreds, if not thousands, in that immediate area. So I don't know why this, the best built one of them all, would hurt anything. It's nothing more than politics with the environmentalist Keith taking control of our country.
I know. To think that if he would actually give $100 million to the Democratic Party, I mean, he's trying to buy the election.
That's it. Well, you've touched on it. Tom Stiers absolutely is using his money, his benefits that he's gained in a capitalistic society, the United States of America, to hurt other Americans. It's hurting me. It's hurting you. It's hurting your car business. It's hurting my travel. It's hurting my real estate business. It's hurting everything because we're paying exorbitant prices for fuel that it's unnecessary.
And there is nothing we can do. We need to impeach him, but if we were successful at impeaching him, Joe Biden would be there, and he'd probably dismiss all of this, and he'd probably get reelected.
You know something, Keith? I chill. I really chill and have huge, enormous goosebumps when I even think about the mindless twit in the name of Joe Biden becoming the president. Doesn't that make you very fearful?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It's entirely possible the way this buffoon is handling this Russian deal, and just use his telephone and his pen.
That's right.
And he don't confer with anybody outside of Valerie Jarrett and some of his cronies. But isn't it the job of the Attorney General to step into something like this if somebody does make a huge donation like that? Wouldn't that be under investigation?
Well, Keith, I wish people would understand. You do. I mean, you get it. But I wish most people would understand that you and I, our progress, our future, our children's future, our grandchildren's future for economic progress and freedom is being stymied in this country because the environmentalists have everybody by the earlobes. I mean, man, they've got them. And Obama is no different. He's being controlled by the environmentalists fundamentalists in our society, and believe me, it's very scary what we're going to be headed into as far as not only a recession, but I think a depression economically if we don't all of a sudden just literally throw these bums out.
Yeah, and I don't think it can be fast enough, but we hope it'll work.
I agree. Keith, thank you for your call. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. I want to remind everybody about Daryl's Cleaners. I was in there the other day. I wasn't. Deanne ran in for me, and wonderful people taking care of all your clothes and your tablecloths, your drapes, anything that you need cleaned. These people at Daryl's Cleaners are absolutely the best. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, I'm telling you, they are very friendly, and believe me, they take pride in their work. Daryl's Cleaners, the best, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and tell them Zeb sent you. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley, the best. And when I say the word best, I also have to say the SafeLink Internet, the best. They've been around for about 16 years right now, and they offer fast, reliable Internet. And they've got a track record to prove it. We're very, very happy over here at Zeb at the Ranch to be on one of their programs with SafeLink Internet. Absolutely, they are the best. And don't forget, I'd like to tell you about their website. Go to their website and check it out and find out more. SafeLinkInternet.com. Give them a call. Get on one of their programs that'll work for you, your business, your home. 677-8000. Idaho's #1 choice, SafeLink Internet. Now, we are in the middle, literally, of the political season for the May primary. So you're going to have to bear with me because we're going to have a lot of commercials, and we're going to have a lot of people that want to get on the air. So don't be disgruntled and say, well, all you got is commercials. Well, for a while, we're going to have to fit a lot of things in, so bear with me. In just a moment, I am going to talk to you about one of the most repulsive op-ed pieces that I've read in the Times News in a long time. And it was decidedly written from the far left and thinks the government can do no wrong, and the rest of us are, we're just basically lunatic fringes, and we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. It really made me upset. I think the individual that wrote that op-ed, and believe me, I'm going to be getting in touch with him to see if he wants to possibly come out here on the program and debate it face-to-face. We'll get into that in just a moment. Denny's Restaurant, we were there last week for our lunch bunch, and we were so sorry. Gina didn't make it, and I really felt bad that she couldn't come. We had a nice gathering. And Thomas, what can you say about Denny's Restaurant? Thomas, Terry, the whole crew, the service was absolutely phenomenal. Everybody's raving about the menu. Everybody said they enjoyed the food. What more can you ask for a restaurant? I mean, great food, great service, great location. That's it. Super nice people. And don't forget, they've got for the seniors special menus and AARP discounts. It's fantastic. We're very happy to be there at Denny's Restaurant. Whether you go in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you're going to love it at 611 Overland in Burley. And also, thanks to our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, do they do a wonderful job over there. All your lights, believe me, you'll never be in the dark. They've got incandescent light bulbs. They've got the CFL bulbs. They've got all your outside lighting, cords, cord ends, fuses. They are your electrical headquarters. All you have to do is stop in and see them today. Nice people. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. You stop in and see them today. I don't know how many people read the op-ed page, opinion editorial page of the Times News yesterday, but one of the main stories on the front page of that section was called Militias, Crackpots, and Zealots. I had numerous calls yesterday regarding the repulsive liberal rant that was written in that headline and that story. And it was basically against anyone on the right that wants protection of the Second Amendment and the right to protect themselves, their family, and their surroundings. And I noticed the individual that wrote this, and I think I know who it was, had to make reference in the very first two sentences, but he said, but thanks to crackpot radio hosts, internet conspiracy theories, and a general mistrust of government, the vigilantes who call themselves militias have gone mainstream and are headed down south to Twin Falls. You probably remember in the last couple of weeks there was a story in there about the Lightfoot militia trying to start up in this area, of which I have nothing to do with, of which I probably will have nothing to do with, but also of which I read their mantra and what they stand for as far as the Constitution and everything else, and really couldn't find anything that I would take exception with. But when this editorial came out, and he started calling people like crackpot radio hosts, I'm sure there are some in the industry, but as I say, and I do every day on this program, and Gina and others can back it up and verify it, I deal only in facts. Anything that is an innuendo or whatever, I will not put on the air. And the editorial gave me chills when it suggested that big government is always right, and whatever they do is acceptable. That scared me. That really scared me, because that's not true. And I think that the reason we have a Second Amendment, the reason we have the Constitution, is to safeguard ourselves as we the people against the omnipresent power of government taking over. And this editorial really, like I said, it gave me chills, a chilling effect that big government is always right. As a matter of fact, there was one of the last couple of paragraphs in the editorial that said, but American political winds have shifted, and the right-wing fringe are consuming a constant stream of half-truths to feed their paranoia. And then he said, who were the bad guys? Was it the federal officials acting under the rule of law, or the vigilantes who decided to get in the way down at the Bundy Ranch? Well, was it the federal officials acting under the rule of law? That isn't always the case. And by the way, I want to say something about Cliven Bundy, and that I think right now fits into our conversation. Cliven Bundy was wrong not to pay his grazing fees. I said that initially from the get-go. If you want to go back into the archives, you can hear what I said on the program. And also, Cliven Bundy was wrong to get into any other political questions and answers regarding any other race or anything that's going on in the welfare system. Somebody should have put duct tape over his mouth and said, Cliven, shut up. You are involved in a land and cattle problem. And the best thing you can do is not say anything other than that. He didn't have any handlers. He doesn't know how to talk to the media. He absolutely put his size 10.5, perhaps, Tony Lama in his mouth and lost a lot of, perhaps, right-wing support. But he put his foot in his mouth, and deservedly so, deserves the trouble that he's into now. But that being said, there was also condemnation in this op-ed, and I'm going to talk about that condemnation in just a moment, so stand by. Don't forget, Mother's Day is quickly approaching. My goodness, yes it is. And Valley White Home and Ranch has the perfect gift for Mom during the Mother's Day Spa Giveaway. How does a free 1-hour massage from Sublime Touch for Mom sound? Ooh, yeah. I'll tell you what, stop by your local Valley White Home and Ranch right there at 910 South Oneida in Rupert and enter to win for your mom. And give something nice to Mom. She'd love that. Along with all the other ideas for Mom and Mother's Day, Montana Silversmith Jewelry, and they've got summer clothing coming in daily, and all the garden seeds for the garden. They've got everything over there for the farm, the home, and the family at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Please stop in and see Steve and the crew today at Valley White Home and Ranch. Oh, by the way, too, Gloria, I talked to Gloria the other day at Ed's Office Products Incorporated, and she had kind of a little grin on her face, and she said, I'm very, very close to vacation. Yes, she said, after 40 years, Ed's Office Products is going to close the doors. Everything is going to go 50% off, and from all the office supplies and the shelving, make the best offer on your shelving they've got over there, and they're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. Merchandise is not going to last long, and then Gloria is going to slam the door and head on vacation. So help her out. Yep, help her out at Ed's Office Products, 1340 Overland in Burley. Really a nice lady. Closing the doors. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a reference in this story, and he said, these are groups, referring to militias and others, that consider the local... Listen to the words. Listen to the words used in this op-ed. These are groups that consider the local sheriff the ultimate arm of law enforcement, claim a monopoly on constitutional understanding, and refuse to acknowledge federal authority, all while prancing under an American flag. Now, that really upsets me, because the local sheriff is the legal arm of the law and does supersede the federal government. And I have to pity sometimes the stupidity of some of these people that write stories that are unknowing about what really is going on with our constitutional values. And I just wonder how many of you read that story. I know that I had, like I said, a lot of calls. Militias, Crackpots, and Zealots. And it gave almost the reference that we should not be able to stand up and protect ourselves. And what was really interesting is this weekend there was perhaps a kind of a legal law enforcement convention back in the Middle West. And Milwaukee, Wisconsin County Sheriff, I don't remember his name offhand. Please forgive me for that, but he stood up and said that he would like to see 7 words added to the Second Amendment. And I'm going to give you a quote on that. He said, quote, "Add these words to the Second Amendment. Keep your hands off our guns, damn it." That was from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin County Sheriff. And the sheriff amplified the thought and reality that law enforcement is not and cannot be your first line of defense. You are. Very well stated. All right, now it's your turn to call in. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Love to hear from you, so come on. Get on the phone, all you supposedly, by the story, Crackpots and Zealots. Give me a call, 436-2244. While I'm waiting for your calls that I know are coming in, I want to remind you, too, about Travel Lube Supply at 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. You know, of course, they can clean your air filters. You can reuse them and save money. That's the name of the game. Save money. And they've got all the bolt bins, and they've got all the metric and standard bolts. And by the way, Jim has got trees over there too, beautiful pine trees, and you can buy them, and some of them are like 10, 12 feet tall, and you can buy them for $50. Where are you going to make a deal like that? Absolutely phenomenal. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. The number to call, 438-8730. Right now, we're going to take a little break, and we're going to be listening to our friends at the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by also our friends at Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Don't forget, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, your family will enjoy the comfort. Here's the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Vermont lawmakers Wednesday passed the country's first state bill to require the labeling of genetically modified foods. Governor Peter Shumlin said he plans to sign it. The requirements would take effect July 1, 2016, giving food producers time to comply. The development in Vermont is important because it now puts the U.S. on the map of governments taking a stance against a practice that has led to bountiful crops and food production, but has stirred concerns about the dominance of big agribusiness and the potential for unforeseen effects on the natural environment. 29 other states have proposed bills this year and last to require GMO labeling. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much, and brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I kind of feel like the number one crackpot and zealot because I'm the first to call in on your show, and I was really upset when I read that article. Of course, about every day when I read the Times News, I'm upset because there's so much propaganda and so much one-sided news. I'd like just once in a while to see one or two articles that I felt was fit to read in the whole paper.
Well, Jerry, one thing that needs to be pointed out is that the lumping together, basically how I took this story, or the opinion editorial, was that anybody that believes in self-protection, anybody believes in the Second Amendment of private ownership of guns, kind of lumped us into like a militia, crackpot, and zealot mode, and I was highly offended by that.
Well, and I was very offended, too, and I'm one of them that called you because I was so upset. You know, I think this dang paper needs to be reined in. I don't know how to do it, but somebody that has knowledge needs to make them print something that is honest and right and fair and true.
Well, Jerry,
absolutely almost nothing in the paper that is fit to read anymore.
Well, I'm of the opinion.
It's so biased, so much phony baloney, you know, people from other states telling us how to run our state that have probably never been in our state at all in their life.
Well, it's not just the state, Jerry. Jerry, wait, we can't talk over each other.
That's fact.
Jerry, we can't talk over each other. Please, give me a break. We live in an area that is very conservative, and this story basically told me that being that we're all considered to be militia members, crackpots, or zealots, that we can't really stand up for the Second Amendment, that we can't stand up and protect our property and or ourselves, and I didn't like the lumping together of being a right-wing zealot. I am not, and I know you're not either.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things that the far, far, far right does that I don't agree with. I'll say that, but you know, I do kind of fit the bill. I am a past militia member. I was a part of the Army National Guard, which was sanctioned by our governor of our state. I served in the service there for a number of years. I served in the Army. Mm-hmm. You know, I have done some of the things they're talking about, but none of them was corrupt or dishonest.
Absolutely.
Above board and online.
Absolutely. Jerry, I got a whole litany of calls lined up. I got to go, but thank you very much for your opinion, and I also thank you for calling yesterday. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right with you.
The Lord bless.
Thank you, sir. Caller, I'll be right with you. Do not go away. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, with a 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and it builds soil structure and saves on irrigation water. Now, the water savings alone will pay for the product, Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie. That's right. Increase your crop yields and better quality. Contact your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor today. Don't wait. You get a hold of Penetron by Maisie. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. You know, initially, we don't know our history and it's not being taught, but initially the militia was the fact that every household would have trained men from the ages, I believe, of 16 to, I think 65. Would be armed and ready at the governor's call to defend the state. And that was what the militia was all about. And so, and the weapons stayed at the home, their own weapons. They weren't like the National Guard. Everybody says, well, the militia is the National Guard now. No, because every household, and you actually were fined if you didn't have enough ammunition. I don't know who checked on that, but you were required to have a certain amount of ammunition to be able to go along with your weapon. So this was what the original militias. Now, of course, that's been totally perverted by the media. The Second Amendment, of course, without the Second Amendment, the rest of the amendments in our Constitution don't mean much.
That's right.
No. Every country, all these refugees that come here from countries all around the planet, I've talked to several of them, And they all were disarmed before they become refugees and victims.
Absolutely. You know, Adrian, I'm sure you read that story in the Times News yesterday, and I just basically, give me a real short summation, but the whole thing just reeked, I think, of left-wingers telling us conservatives that our opinions and our self-protection doesn't matter anymore.
Well, yeah, we're going to let the government protect us?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is, you know, in the bigger picture, the main function of the federal government is to protect us from invasion, and it doesn't mean just invading armies, but also the illegal alien invasion. Article 4, Section 4 states that. It doesn't say an army of an invasion, but this is the main function of the government, is to protect our life, our liberty, and our property. And now they want to take our
Absolutely.
property and everything else that goes along with it.
I appreciate your call as always, Adrian. And by the way, Dr. Harper is going to be on our program this Wednesday. Adrian, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, sir. Very well stated. Hey, by the way, caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. But I want to remind everybody, Barry Equipment and Rental, they've got 3 locations serving you. One at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, one at 2331 South Lincoln in Jerome, and one beautiful brand new location at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All the equipment you're looking for, the Doosan loaders and excavators, Coyote tractors, everything. And they also need some mechanics. They've got competitive pay, good benefits, and a great place to work. And you can apply at any of the locations, Twin Falls, Burley, or Jerome. Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. Really good folks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I guess I are one.
Okay, well, now that you are one, explain which one you are.
We're one of the rebel zealots and whatever else they think that we are, because we believe in defending ourselves.
Did you read the article?
I did. It kind of made me mad.
Well, it made me upset, and then also I think I know the individual that wrote the article, and comes from completely the left side, and I think he was trying to stir up people like you and me and others, which he did a good job. But, you know, the right-wing fringe, the lunatic fringe, zealots and crackpots, I know you know me, and I don't think we fall into that category. We are God-fearing taxpayers that just absolutely realize the government cannot be the protector of us 24/7.
Exactly. But we know for a fact that the police cannot be everywhere all at once. And I guarantee you that when the stuff hits the fan, that the police officers are going to be taking care of pretty much their own families or anything that's around them. They are not going to be able to be everywhere. And, you know, those who don't have guns, guess who they're going to be going to for protection?
That's right.
Those of us who do.
You know, let me ask you something. You made a statement. Now, you sound like you're firmly committed that there are dire times ahead. And I know you're not a lunatic. You're not a crackpot. You're not a zealot. But why? Why do you believe in your heart of hearts that there are tougher times ahead that we need as a nation to be very wary of?
Well, partly I see the handwriting on the wall with what our government is doing or not doing, with the things that are going on with Putin, with the things that are going on with the people coming across our borders, with what they are doing down in Nevada, trying to take away rights of our farmers and ranchers. I think that this is becoming more and more blatant. We're also seeing this with a lot of what the environmentalists are doing with trying to keep us out of the mountains, trying to eliminate munitions, and different ways of trying to eliminate our ways of defense. And if they can accomplish that, then we are going to have mass riots and chaos when issues come up, whether it be farming issues because we haven't got the good weather that's necessary to grow crops, food shortages that will cause chaos and rioting. And I think those things are yet to come. And I really do believe that we're going to have what I call a power down or a grid down And when that happens, there's going to be looting and rioting.
I'd add one more to the fray. I would add one more to the fray that I'm very concerned about. And I see this being festered and sore like a scab, the picking of a scab. And I see the government basically doing this through Obama and Eric Holder and others. I see a race war or a race entanglement in this country to where they have helped feed and fuel the fire of racism, and I'm just afraid it's going to come down to a race war in this country.
Oh, yeah, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson are right in the middle of fueling that. They've got the billows out there making sure that happens.
You know, let me ask you real quick and give me a short answer on this. Did you hear about Mr. Sterling, the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team, or not? Did you hear anything? And I don't want to elaborate, but did you hear about the story?
No.
All right, well, basically, in a nutshell, he was recorded in a private conversation. I want to emphasize it was a private conversation that has gone viral. His girlfriend let the private conversation be taped, and it went viral, and he said some racist remarks in there, and this whole thing is just blown sky high. And, you know, a private conversation, you got to even now, Sharon, whether you're visiting with your neighbor, whether you're visiting with a relative, whatever, we've lost in this country, and I'm not advocating anything racist. Please do not misunderstand. But we've lost the First Amendment of free speech.
Oh, I agree. And the thing of it is, that really bugs me is why is it that the white people are the only ones that are racist?
Yeah, we've talked about that on this program, and I'm going to have a segment on that later on this week because, boy, right now, anything and everything that we say regarding any race always comes back to roost on our doorstep and cause us all kinds of problems, but yet at the same time, other races can call names and basically vilify us, and nothing can be done. I agree with you. Sharon, I appreciate your call.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
The white guy. I mean, you know,
yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. There was a young lady that was a Negro, and she flat out called herself a Negro, that went on YouTube, and this was in the process of going viral, and she had comments about Cleveland Bundy. And she says, I don't believe he's racist. In his statement about how the blacks are now enslaved, more so than what they were when they were here in slavery, because of the fact that most of them don't work, they are on welfare, because of the abortion rate that they have amongst the blacks. And she agrees with all of that. She says it is true. And to say that he's racist, absolutely not.
But a white commentator and a white talk show host, television, radio, or whatever, can never say that because you might see the end of your career on the teleprompter.
Yep.
Absolutely. Sharon, thank you for your call. God bless. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I want to remind everybody about Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Don't forget, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort thanks to our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I want to also remind you that there is a big deal coming up in not too many more days. As a matter of fact, you're invited to a meet and greet hosted by District 27 legislators, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood. And that includes also welcoming Butch Otter, our governor, and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little over to the Sweetheart Manor at 217 South Highway 27 in Burley on Thursday, May 8th. Coming up. We'll see you there. 6 to 9 p.m. hors d'oeuvres and refreshments. Don't forget, May 8th, right there at Sweetheart Manor, 6 to 9, a meet and greet for the governor, Butch Otter, and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, Cliven Bundy has a friend, a bodyguard, who said he would take a bullet for that man because he said there's no prejudice in the man just because he said something from his heart that didn't come out exactly right. They have been interviewing and giving him press conferences. Cliven Bundy's been having press conferences for days now, and I guarantee you they were doing it in an attempt to trip him up, and they did so.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Randy, wait a minute, right there, hold on just a second, and pardon my rudeness. That's all the more reason That is all the more reason that Cliven Bundy should have said no to any press conferences unless they were specific to the point of cattle and land. I said this about a week ago on the program, that he needs to keep his mouth shut and not say anything, because he's not familiar with the media. He's not familiar with sound bites. He's not familiar with newspaper, radio, and TV as to what to do and what not to do. And he shot himself in his own foot because he needed a handler and he needed somebody to put duct tape over his mouth.
Well, there's no question that he made a mistake. Now, I got one more point, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead, quick.
The other day, I noticed on Channel 11, KMVT, that they were advertising, it was pro bono, free, public assist, promotion, that there was going to be a sustainability conference at the College of Southern Idaho. So I called the CSI, the lady who makes the planning, and I ended up getting a hold of another lady and I asked her, I said, do you know what Agenda 21 is? And I began to explain to her about the global intent, environmental control, and that's what it's all about. And so I got a hold of the president of CSI, and a very nice man, been there 27 years, lived here forever, and I asked him if he knew what global Agenda 21 was, and he said no. And I said, well, when you use the word sustainability, and it's a public institution being promoted freely by the local TV station, I says, you're flying in the face of every free market capitalist in this valley who keeps your economy going and supports your college. I says, maybe we just ought to think about what it is we're doing at the college. Now, I have yet to find out who sponsored it and how, but I'm working on it. But
okay.
It was shocking to me that they did not know better, and I do believe that they didn't. And this is no intent, no aggression against anybody at CSI. Like I said, I just been doing my research on it, but I was shocked to find out that.
I am shocked also, because Agenda 21 has come up now and you know this, in speeches that Obama has given and everything else. And Agenda 21, at first, it was always looked at as, again, using the word crackpot zealots with the right wing. Well, it's not. And for years and years and years, Dr. Adrian Arp on our program warned us about Agenda 21, and we all kind of scoffed and everything. But now it's coming to fruition, and we can all thank him for his alerting us as to how dangerous it is. Randy, I got to run and do a weather forecast, but I do thank you for your call, and keep us informed on that, if you would, please. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch more about it, but we'll talk later.
All right, buddy. Hey, we've got a weather forecast coming up, brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland in Burley. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. Minor emergencies, major care. Whether it's headaches, breaks, brain strains, urinary infection, skin care, whatever, they will help take care of it. That's right. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Start of a brand spanking new week of UME and weather. Sun, clouds, and windy today. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour. That continued throughout much of the day. And into tonight, and then from tonight going into tomorrow, you got nice-looking weather and temperatures getting back up into the upper 60s. You're looking for a high today of 61. And an overnight low right around close to freezing, about 34 to be exact. Tomorrow, more of the same, but no wind for a high of about 67 per mile. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, Michael. Brought to you this hour by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. Minor emergencies, major care. Hey, by the way, Mother's Day's coming up, and we want to remind you about 3 businesses that are there to serve you. The Drift Inn at 545 F Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, May 11th, a very special day for Mother's Day. Call now and make your reservations at the Drift Inn in Rupert, 436-1300. Special Mother's Day hours, 11 to 3 that day. And prime rib, finger steaks, butterfly shrimp, everything's delicious at the Drift Inn, 545 F Street in Rupert. The Book Plaza with Colonel Dale and the crew, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Some of the special books you can give Mom, or Forgive Me Not book, The Light We Share, What Would a Holy Woman Do, and many, many other books, and poem books by Helen Steiner Rice. All of this and more at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And And let's not forget the Goodie Shop. Oh, let's not forget the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. Treat your mom to a goodie basket. You can build your own or select one that's already done, and they got special Mom's Day mugs, and they can be filled with candy kisses and brownie treats. Oh, you better call them today, the Goodie Shop, 647-0106, located at 133 West Main in Burley. Boy, happy Mother's Day. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's other stories in the news this morning, along with talking about this op-ed page of the Times News, calling us that believe in the Second Amendment, basically crackpots and zealots. But there's a couple of other things I'm very concerned about, and I'm going to take some time later on this week and talk about the NBA, Los Angeles Clippers owner, and the racial comments that were made, but the caveat is they were made in private, not to his knowledge that they were being taped, and it was a private conversation. So there's a double-edged sword there. Also, just to tell you how crazy political correctness is becoming, at Dartmouth University, they are no longer going to have what they call a big spring fiesta party, because some of the powers that be at Dartmouth University have termed that the word fiesta is racist, so they're not going to have the fiesta party anymore. What? Yeah, I'm not kidding. At Dartmouth University, from now on, the word fiesta is racist, so it's been canceled. Oh, and by the way, the Columbus Day celebration has been canceled in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And they're now going to call it, because they don't want to honor Christopher Columbus anymore. They don't want anything to do with Columbus Day anymore. So they're going to call that day Indigenous People Day, in celebration and honor of their Native American Indian tribes in that region. They're throwing Columbus into the Lake Michigan, and they're going to go with Indigenous People Day. And one other thing to worry about, and I had somebody call me the other day and take offense at me in regards to my saying that there is a war on Christianity. A second grader was told that she could not read a children's Bible during free time at school. Remember now, this is free time at school, and she was told by the administration never to bring that Bible to school again. And then also another related story about the war on Christianity. A little girl went through the cafeteria at the school, got all of her food on her tray, and went over and sat down at the table, and she bowed her head silently and gave thanks for her food. And she was taken upstairs to the principal's office and told never to do that again, because you cannot pray over your meal. And you have the audacity, basically the guts, to call me and say that there's not a war on Christianity? How dare you? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I will say this, and I mean this. Like Mr. T used to say, pity the fool. Well, I pity the fool that would ever tell me that I can't pray over my food if I'm at a high school cafeteria. Don't forget a great big tire sale going on, spring tire sale going on right now at all 7 of the locations of the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely, all the tires are on sale. They've got special low prices on a lot of their custom wheels, and don't forget the very best in brake service, professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience, the best in batteries and shocks and struts and front end alignments. Wow. All the tires, whether it's your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever, spring tire sale going on right now. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I've got a couple of news notes here that I want to get on this morning. And first of all, very, very serious note, and my heart goes out to the Twist family. And they've had a tragic occurrence in their family with the death of a loved one, and I just want to extend our heartfelt grief to them and God's blessings, please, to the Twist family over in Paul. Also, I want to say thank you this morning to Mr. and Mrs. Bruce Ford, and their kindness to me has been outstanding at Lunch Bunch. I really appreciate that. Our tip of the coffee cup, as a matter of fact, goes to Mr. and Mrs. Bruce Ford, along with Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Edwards. Thank you very, very much for all your kindness. We appreciate you, and they're the tip of the coffee cup for this morning. And then yesterday at church, Berwin Mussman walked in and handed me a quotation from Abraham Lincoln. And I read this and I thought, man, this is really appropriate for where we are in this country right now. And it's a quote from former president during the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, and it's very fitting for today. America, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. How true. A little bit later on this morning, we are going to be talking next hour to Christina Tobin, and we're going to be talking about why good journalists, are leaving the industry. And then at 9:30, we've got ADF on with Casey Maddox. And at 10:06, we're going to be talking to Matt Dempsey about the oil sands and the oil we may not get because of this ridiculous stonewalling from Obama not to sign for the Keystone Pipeline. Makes no sense whatsoever. And then at 10:30, please stop what you're doing at 10:30 and tune in. We're going to have a former U.S. diplomat to Russia, Paul Janasek. I'm really happy to have him on my program, and we're literally going to be talking about the Ukrainian mess, the encroachment from Russia, Putin, and everything else with Paul Janasek. Don't miss that. But right now, quickly, I want to also get her on the line and say, Gina, what's going on in your world this morning?
Nothing. I've just been chit-chatting with Jerry.
Why?
Some listeners called in and said they heard a little buzz on from our transmitter.
Oh, a little buzz. Is that a plug for one of the stations?
Nope.
No.
Nope. We don't have the buzz anymore.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it. Well, it was a good thought.
It was a good thought, but I was just chit-chatting with Jerry.
Okay, well, tell Mr. Thaxton that after the program, if he'd holler at me on the cell phone, I'd sure appreciate it.
You betcha, will do.
All right, now we're going to go to the news from ABC. I'll be back in 6. Oh, welcome back and good morning on a Monday. And man alive, the wind, I don't know how it is over at the studio, but my goodness, if they say we're windy today, it's the truth. We're windy today. My heaven, it must be blowing out there 35, 40 miles an hour right now. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with your major sponsor, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, doing all the great jobs for you and your vehicles with the best of a big spring tire sale, along with some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and restraints. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. That is 100% right. And we're very honored to have them on our show as we have for a long, long time. Don't forget, we're drawing closer to the outdoor season, special events, picnics, and all kinds of reunions. And be sure and check out all the renting of the porta potties. And, of course, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. And don't forget the Go Minis, portable storage units. Oh, those are handy. And all you have to do is call. One call does it all for you at 734-6969. Western Way Services, serving you because they are always at your disposal. You better believe it. Hey, by the way, also our thanks go to Handsome Mortuary with Joel Heward, the manager-owner. Handsome Mortuary is a family place. The family lives there. They have more flexible hours, and they're there when you need them. That's right. They give you family attention, and they can also travel to the other towns and the other churches to help you with all the arrangements. You don't necessarily have to drive in and see them. They'll come to you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. We're about ready to have our guest come on the program this morning, but before we do that, I also want to remind you about the best in insurance coverage, and that's from Cameron and Siemens Insurance. I believe Dean's going to be on the program with us tomorrow, as a matter of fact, at 10:30. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, always dedicated and responsive to your needs, serving you with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. Don't put all those things on the back burner. Do call them today, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Well, right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we're going to say good morning to a lovely lady, Christina Tobin, and believe me, this lady knows all about the media, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good morning, Christina. How are you?
Oh, good morning to you. Great. How are you today?
I am good, and we're going to talk a little bit about the media this morning, and you had written a story that was called Why Journalists Are Leaving United States Networks. What do you mean by that? They're leaving U.S. networks.
Well, mainstream media is, controlled by a few powerful individuals, families out there, and they use mainstream media, the two-party system, and different tools, Hollywood and so on, to intentionally divide us, create needless chaos throughout the world, the Commission on Presidential Debates as well. And so I sense and feel that journalists, friends of mine, Abby Martin with RT America, Amber Lyon, she was previously with CNN, whistleblower, she left them, to just a variety of journalists are leaving the U.S. networks because they become infiltrated, and they're, again, a tool used by the powers to be to divide us. And they are seeking an alternative platform. Now, Abby Martin's an exception. She actually came out against the war in Russia, and mainstream media was really harsh on RT, but RT kept her on board, and she was not fired, and that's pretty awesome of RT to do. But, from the Phil Donahues to the Cheryl Atkinson, formerly with CBS, to Cenk Uygur, he was formerly with MSNBC. The list goes on and on. Ben Swan, he was with Fox. Chris Hedges, in the paper, New York Times, so on. There definitely is a shift here. Honest media is rising, and they're looking for a platform to be heard on, and here at Free and Equal Elections, we're working very hard to create that platform for them.
Christina, when you mention all these names, and you mentioned Phil Donahue, and I've got to ask you about Phil Donahue because, first of all, up front, I never cared for the man. I thought he was an extreme lefty that really was pushing a high liberal agenda. But today, it seems like if you're not of the left and don't fall into the George Soros agenda, you're not acceptable in the news media. Am I wrong?
I think it's bigger than that. I think that the left-right divide is something that, again, the powers to be use tools like the two-party system to divide us. The parties work together behind the scenes. There's a huge disconnect between the federal and state parties for sure. And so the left-right divide on the bigger issues like the National Defense Authorization Act, war, the drug war, the military-industrial system, drones, NSA, the list goes on and on. I think we can all, pretty much for the most part, agree left, right, and alike. These are not good things for our world, for our future, what's going on. And so, Donahue, whether someone's on the left, someone's on the right, as far as the funding, the Soros and Koch brothers, they've done some things that aren't good there, but I think it's kind of a distraction. I think that, the media focuses on Koch and Soros, way too much when they need to focus on more of like the Rockefeller and Rothschilds who, lean on the oil and gas industry to make money and, again, create these, needless wars throughout the world. And it's all tied into it seems to be the banking system. It's all about money. So I think that it's time for us to unite, not only on the media side, but many of you may have heard of Free and Equal Elections. We hosted a presidential debate in 2012 moderated by Larry King and myself. And, we were top 10 trending on Twitter. Tens of millions of people viewed that. The international media covered it more so than mainstream in the U.S., which was very telling. And so we are really raising the bar here at Free and Equal Elections, and we've got a lot of amazing initiatives kicking off with the United We Stand Festival at UCLA May 10th. I can tell you more about that. But most of the journalists I've mentioned here are part of that festival, as well as Larry King and Dennis Kucinich and Marianne Williamson, and the list goes on. And I'm pretty excited to be that platform. I think that's going to bring about, hopefully, peace throughout the U.S. and the world. The world is waking up, and they're looking at the U.S. today, and we got to wake up really fast, and let's make it fun. Let's bring music, art, spirituality into it, and that's what we're about here at Free and Equal Elections.
Let me ask you this, Christina, and I'm not one to be anything but blunt. I would say that truthful, honest.
I would expect nothing less, I can tell.
All right, thank you.
By the way, it's super cool.
No, thank you.
Talked to her a little bit before the interview.
I really feel that honest, truthful journalism is dead or dying on the vine. It's taking and gasping its last breath. And I'll use an instance. When Candy Crowley jumped in during the presidential debates with Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, and literally with her jumping in, destroyed that debate from that juncture on so that the whole debate switched in favor of Barack Obama. I think the media and liberalism and honest journalism is gone by the wayside. Am I wrong?
Currently, I would say there's a shift. I always say let's not give up. Giving up's not an option because that's what they want us to do. They want us to give up. And when you give up, you become a part of the problem. And I think it's really huge that you're having me on your show today. It shows that you are looking, hopefully, for an answer, resolution. As far as the debates, the Commission on Presidential Debates, man, that is a tool. $50-60 million. Follow the money. It's funneled in from the elite, the powers to be, powerful families, who then, that money spent on ABC, NBC, CBS, who in return sponsor the debate. And then it becomes a tool to divide us. It's just a joke. The Democrats and Republicans, again, they're shaking hands behind the scenes, but pretending that they're, had a huge disagreement in front of the camera. So, here at Free and Equal Elections, not only do we have the United We Stand Fest, one of many initiatives with kickoff for a 2015 tour, which I feel is going to ignite. The key is getting people engaged in our electoral process again, and also inspiring people to run, probably pretty much as independents for Congress. I think the congressional races are key beginning in 14 and 16. But we're also going to be launching a Free and Equal network here at Free and Equal, which is here to pull in all these amazing leaders and build them and work with entities like yourself and become a hub of information, a vessel. And we have other initiatives as well, an educational curriculum that I feel courses will evolve throughout all universities, high schools, and so on. And finally, our election system, which will list every single candidate running for office, whether they're DR. I think parties and money in politics are going to fade away because we have the internet. We can basically shine a light, bring about accountability. And our government, we have a long-term plan here at Free and Equal. Free and Equal is here to stay. And I think when we do that, the cockroaches are going to scatter. And, the world wants to... People just want to live happy lives, peaceful lives, healthy lives, and I feel that this event is going to rise and achieve that very quickly.
Christina, this might sound like a rerun of what I've asked the last couple of minutes, but how do we, the American public, know and perceive honest journalism? How do we know that they're doing the best they can to give an unbiased report of really what the news is? How do we know that what stories they're using aren't bought and paid for through a political faction? How can we trust really what we're getting from the news department anywhere across the United States?
Well, for the most part, you can't. So you got to dig deeper and then look for that alternative media online. I'm a big believer that it is important for us to educate ourselves. On the internet, social media, if you go online and look up Ben Swan, even Larry King, formerly with CNN, has really shifted in that direction. Cheryl Atkinson, again, Jen Huger, the list goes on and on when I mentioned before, Glenn Greenwald. I mean, so definitely get hands-on and inform yourself and educate yourself and go online and research these honest media. But again, at Free and Equal, freeandequal.org, I feel is going to become the vessel of information beyond Facebook. Facebook is days are numbered. Our Facebook outreach alone on Free and Equal for Free and Equal has skyrocketed from 30,000 to over 16 million in the last 30 to 60 days. So we really are becoming a force to not be reckoned with. But, I'm here we all know the problems out there. Now let's fix it. Let's not point fingers to all the people that have caused the depression. Let's just come together and focus on the bigger issues and fix this. And so I think you got to follow the money too. I mean, if you look at how these honest media, individuals are funded, it's from what I can see, pure. And as far as ABC, CBS, NBC, maybe not so much. So I think a lot more journalists are going to be leaving those entities. I mean, their conscience is definitely, and the results of that for many of them, I feel.
Christina, with some of the problems and scandals that have come up on the news that basically have been pushed underneath a very big carpet, i.e. the IRS scandal and, of course, Fast and Furious, and one that really irritates me is what happened over in Benghazi, and here we are never really knowing why 4 Americans died and what happened to them. Do you think that there's going to be honest appraisals in journalism in the future, thanks to you and others, that we're going to get questions asked and we're going to put politicians on the hot seat to demand honest answers?
Absolutely, because, the latter for me is not an option. With 150,000, all those military tanks or whatnot being distributed in the U.S., and I don't know, I mean, the NDAA, the Patriot Act, the fact that you can be detained, taken from your home. Right now, somebody could pound down my door and take me out because I speak my mind, I guess. That's the whole conspiracy thing is just kind of another tool I think the government uses to, since when has it been wrong for somebody to express their opinion? As Americans, as people, it's our right and what we should actually be educating ourselves, that is, as to what's true and what isn't. But I do think that there's going to be unity, beginning with the U.S. and throughout the world. And I'm 32 years of age, and I've been a huge advocate for addressing electoral fraud for the last 15 years of my life, especially when my dad, when I was 17, ran for governor in Illinois, and he was wrongfully knocked off the ballot as a third-party candidate. And I just saw firsthand the corruption within our electoral process. And so this movement is not only going to bring people together through music, spirituality, arts, unity, but we're going to address the election fraud, from the gerrymandering to the electoral college. Do we want proportional representation? I mean, this platform is about bringing the intellectuals and the honest media together to discuss these sort of issues. So the unfortunate issue of Benghazi, the list goes on and on. It needs to stop. Life is so short. We have several decades or so, 50, 70, 90 years to be on this amazing place called Earth, which for me is my heaven. And I have every objective and every goal of living here and being here as long as possible. I love it, and I think most of us and listeners on the radio station can relate to that. So it is with great hope, and I feel that we can take back our government, and when we do that, technology will rise. Instead of focusing on the cures, let's focus on the cause.
Yes.
What is the cause of all these reasons why people are in hospitals? The hospitals feed into the system. It's just, we're here to change things very quickly, and, I'm just doing it one interview at a time, and I really hope people resonate with what we're doing. We're a 501c3, Free and Equal, andequal.org, and I'm not selling up to corporate money. I'm holding out for non-GMO, organic companies, people who do good things in the world. And I really hope you guys can support us today if you're listening out there. We sure do need it.
Absolutely.
Listen the right way.
I love your attitude and I love your approach. Along with this, your very, very energetic attitude towards life and making things better. Are you afraid at all, Christina, of the powers that be trying to stymie or perhaps stifle your voice?
I always message that, we have lost some amazing people in the world that some of it's a little sketchy. And it's just like, I want to really focus more on fixing things so we don't have to think that those things are even possible. And so I really messaged to me that I love life. I have every intention of being here a long time. And that crosses my mind, but there needs to be a movement to shield these amazing leaders, from the honest journalists to the musicians who have not watered down their lyrics in the industry, and so on, to the people running for office that need a free and equal chance of winning. And, my conscience, I could not justify not doing this. It was a greater risk for me to not do this than it is to do it, to be at the forefront of this movement as the founder. And, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But, I hope even the powers to be out there, there's that little bit of heart there. I'm not saying it in a naive way. I recognize that there is evil out there, I suppose, but man, I just wish that they could just take their money and put it into great things instead of oil and gas and furthering, and hip cars and electric cars and innovation. I mean, let's just transition it in the right direction, even the most powerful people to be out there. So to not do this, I feel many scary things would rise, and to do it, it's worth the chance. And I don't feel it's much of a risk. It's a much bigger risk to not do this. So it's my destiny, and I love life, and I hope people unite behind the movement very, very quickly.
All right. Once again, give us the website real quick so people can follow this, and I thank you. Go ahead, if you would, please.
Thank you. It's free and equal. freeandequal.org, and John F. Kennedy once said, let's not seek the Republican answer, the Democratic answer, but the right answer. And I'm just about doing what's right, and for me, this is the right thing to do, to be a part of this. This is the best job, not even a job. I am so fortunate to be able to do this and meet so many amazing people, and I really thank you for having me on your show. Just enabling me and allowing me to be heard by your listeners says a lot about you, and you're a cool producer, and I look forward to hopefully coming on again in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina Tobin. God bless you, and the very best for all of your efforts. Thank you for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, you could see her zest for life and her zest to make things better and more honest and appreciated in our society. And believe me, kind of bird-dogging all that's going on in journalism and asking for an honest approach to the problems. And that's all anyone can ask, is an honest approach and reporting on the facts. Okay, let's pay some bills here real quick, and let's tell you what's going on. And just, oh my goodness, I got to pick up these papers. Now Gina would really get a kick out of this, because I've got about a pile and a half of papers here with all our political notes and everything. Well, you're invited to a meet and greet hosted by District 27 legislators, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood. It's going to be at the Sweetheart Manor at 217 South Highway 27 in Burley on Thursday, May 8th from 6 to 9, and featuring, of course, Governor Butch Otter and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Hors d'oeuvres, refreshments, and a lot of good visiting with a lot of nice people. That's coming up on Thursday, May 8th, 6 to 9 at Sweetheart Manor, a meet and greet. And that's with Butch Otter, our governor, and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Thank you very much. Okay, calls are welcome and appreciated. I got time for one phone call before we take a break at the bottom of the hour, and I'd like to hear from you. And while we're waiting for your call this morning, I'll also mention to you, the other day I reported in regards to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More that you can get an entire living room, basically the sofa, the accessories, everything, the lamps, for just $995.95. 14 pieces of comfort and beauty in your home from Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You better get in and check this out today. I mean, literally, just lay in the whole living room. There it is. Boy, it's beautiful. 14 pieces, just $999.95. Stop in and talk to them about this today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're waiting right this moment to serve you. Stop in and see them now. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, in Lennox Home Comfort Systems, yes sirree, Bob, whether it's a gas furnace or whether it's anything for the comfort of your home, you better stop in, like a heat pump or air conditioner. All of this and more, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Gina, that girl in a way, reminded me of you. Very forceful and forthright, and not going to take any kind of gray answers. It's either a yes or no or an honest appraisal. She seems to really have a zest for finding out the truth.
I like, and honestly, and it's the topic that she encompasses that I really, really enjoy. Of course, truthfulness in media, and specifically in journalism, which, hey, right up my alley. So I really like her.
Where did it go? Why did it leave? And how come it hasn't come back?
I don't know. Money and corporate greed.
You know, even on a smaller scale locally, you've got to admit that honest journalism and the thumb of perhaps the corporate heads of the station or the newspaper or whatever have played a big part into honest journalism and the reporting of honest journalism, to the point where if you don't like it, it's still honest and you're going to tell the story as it is. That's gone.
That is gone, and everything has moved to biasness and opinion. And honestly, when I open up a newspaper or when I watch a news program on television, I want to see honest, fair, unbiased reporting, and then I can make my opinion and my judgment from that. But don't tell me your opinion if you're going to be reporting the news.
Well, now, let me ask you now, you're the generation below me, and I don't know if you remember, the Huntley Brinkleys and the Walter Cronkites and all those people.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think they stood for, even if, like in Walter Cronkite's case, and I'll say this quickly before our next guest, even if they stood towards the left a little bit in their own private dealings and lifestyle, I did anyway, had a feeling that when they were on television, they gave you an honest appraisal of the news the way it was, not the way that they wanted it to be.
Amen. And they were taught under the old school, which was the Edward R. Murrow style of journalism, which is you get both sides, you present the facts, and then you let your listeners or your audience make the opinion for themselves. You don't make their opinion for them. And so Walter Cronkite and all of the old school journalists, I really have a lot of respect for, and that is gone today. That is absolutely gone today.
I made a comment the other day, and we were in a setting where we had quite a few diversified opinions and personalities, and I made the statement that if Benghazi or the IRS scandal had happened back in the 60s or early 70s, it would have been pursued and it would have been laid open for public scrutiny far better than what it is today.
Yeah, honestly, it would have been laid open for open scrutiny, and I think the American public would have demanded more of political retribution, as it were.
Quickly, Cheryl Atkinson from CBS, I've listened to her on numerous occasions on the news, and I've listened to her talk about how many of her pieces were scrutinized by CBS and basically thrown out, and she was told to either rewrite it or not carry that story at all. That's not journalism. That's not freedom of the press, and we're certainly leaning towards where Big Brother, whether it's the owner of the radio station, television station, or newspaper, or a George Soros type, is going to say, nope, can't run that. That's not going to be. That is not journalism.
No, it's not. That is corporate bias, all down to the media dollar.
Absolutely. Do we have our guest?
I need to call them.
Okay, well, I need to let you go. I'll do a commercial quickly. Thank you. Let's not forget our friends at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Now, they take Sunday and Monday off. They deserve it. They need the rest. And then they hit the doors a-running tomorrow morning on Tuesdays, and I'm telling you what, they have got phenomenal buys on all their ATVs. As a matter of fact, they got the Can-Am side-by-sides. They're great deals, rebates, and great financing. They've got dirt bikes, 0% financing down for 5 years. And let me tell you, and I know this for a fact because that's where we got our ATVs, and we take them over there to get them serviced. They have got the best service department anywhere, anytime, the very best you'll find. Guarantee you, because they work on our bikes, I'll tell you, you should stop in and let them work on yours. Absolutely the best. All the accessories, everything at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, and it is where the fun is sold. Well, in just a moment, we're waiting for the high sign from Gina. We're going to have our got him. Thank you very much. And she gave us that high sign, and we're going to right now go to Mr. Casey Maddox with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Good morning, Casey. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, Zeb. Thanks for having me on.
Nice to have you on the program, along with all the other legal counsels with Alliance Defending Freedom. And you're going to be telling us about another case in the Fifth Circuit Court about something that happened in Mississippi and protecting women from what's called cut-and-run abortions. Boy, it sounds very insidious and very heinous. Explain it to us, Casey, please.
Well, what's happening in Mississippi and in a number of other states, people have seen what's been going on in Texas, and Alabama has a similar law, and Wisconsin and several others. What's happening is you have abortionists who will fly in every so often. They will line the women up, and they'll do abortions one after the other, and then they fly out, and they have no actual connection to those women at all. They just line them up and do the abortions one after the other. They fly away, and they're not there if those women have complications afterward. And so what states have done, so in your typical situation, of course, you go to a doctor, you actually have a relationship with the doctor, the surgeon who's performing the surgery, and if something happens, you're able to have the surgeon who was there and knows exactly what happened to assist in the hospital with your care. That's often not happening in the abortion context. And so these states, including Mississippi, have said, look, you need to have admitting privileges at a local hospital if you're going to perform abortions in this state. And the abortion lobby is up in arms because it cuts into their bottom line. And so that's what's happening, and we're at the Fifth Circuit today. There's a hearing at the Fifth Circuit today that will determine whether that Mississippi law can be implemented.
You know, Casey, I'm sitting here, and I guess I'm old school. I guess I'm old, period. But this is such a heinous story to report on. Basically like assembly line death to babies that could be born into this world, and doctors, like you said, flying in, flying out, no retribution if there's something that's wrong or something that happens to the health of the mothers and or the fetus. This is gruesome, Casey. I mean, my goodness, what happened to any kind of righteous indignation in America?
It really is. I mean, abortion is always bad. But when they treat women this way, as if it's a cattle call for abortion, and you just line the women up one after the other, you schedule them on all the abortions in the entire area on one particular day, not because that is actually beneficial to the women, but because it's beneficial to the abortionist and the abortion clinic's bottom line to line them all up. And so they have the women come in at about every 15, 20-minute intervals, and they just perform abortions all day long. They make money hand over fist doing it that way, and then, of course, the abortionist leaves. And when the woman has complications the next day or days thereafter, then she's left with no one to call because the doctor's gone. And so that's states are looking at trying to make sure this doesn't happen. That if we're going to have abortion, we're at least going to have women taken care of, and the women are going to be the focus, not the abortion clinic's bottom line.
You know, I just sit here and I shake my head that we have lost respect for life in this country. Our seniors on the one hand and the unborn on the other. And I couldn't do your job because I'd always have to do it with a handkerchief in one hand and dab away the tears because of the sadness of all these stories.
It is particularly sad. But, you know, I always think I would be just as sad if I wasn't actually doing the work. At least it gives me an opportunity to feel like I can do something to try to fight this scourge of abortion. And, you know, in these states that are trying to do this ought to be non-controversial. The idea that, you know, it used to be this safe, legal, and rare. It used to be the mantra from the abortion industry. Whatever happened to that? What happened to wanting to make sure that abortion was safe? Now, when states enact very basic laws that require abortionists to live up to the same standards that other medical professionals do, they're attacked.
You know, let me ask you, Casey, and I'm making a supposition here, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I would imagine that either up in front of the curtain or behind the scenes off stage, Planned Parenthood is probably throwing a lot of money to fight you on this. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. They are challenging these laws in a number of states. And of course, they say that it's all about the women. It's basically all about Planned Parenthood's bottom line. And what this law may do, and why they're so upset about this law, is because there's only one abortion clinic left in Mississippi. Planned Parenthood has located its abortion clinics elsewhere, and so this law, they claim, would actually close that last abortion clinic because they're evidently uninterested in hiring a doctor that actually has admitting privileges at a local hospital. And so that's the claim, is that if Mississippi succeeds in this case, that the last abortion clinic in the state in Jackson, Mississippi would close.
How does this affect, and again, I'm reaching here on this, my end of the story, but to line them up, you say, possibly at a local hospital, and going against the Hippocratic Oath, going against the vestiges and the realities of what the hospital is there for, the whole thing just reeks to me, and it should be stopped a long time ago. What are your thoughts about that? Absolutely. I mean, there's no focus on the women here. The focus is on making sure that the scheduling and that everything fits the doctor's schedule. You have the doctor who comes once, maybe twice a month, and the women have to wait in order to get what is, in any other case, if you ask Planned Parenthood, immediately necessary medical care. But when it means that the abortionist wants to be able to do all the abortions on a Friday because that fits the abortionist schedule, then they'll make them wait a couple of weeks and line them all up in 15-minute intervals. There's no focus on the women. The focus is entirely on the abortionist and on the finances. And, you know, if with any medical procedure, that ought to concern people, this assembly line mentality. But states like Mississippi and Texas and Wisconsin and Alabama and others are not going to take this lying down, and they're going to make sure that these abortionists at least respect the women. Absolutely. Casey, I really appreciate you staying on top of this issue and coming on our program. We thank you for your time, but before we let you go, Alliance Defending Freedom, please tell us all the different ways people can follow this case and others, if you would, please. Sure, absolutely. And I should say that the hearing is actually ongoing right now in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, so we would certainly appreciate your prayers for that. And you can find more about this case and others on AllianceDefendingFreedom.org or ADFmedia.org. Absolutely. Casey Maddox, thank you so much. Legal counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom. Always welcome on this program. God bless you for what you're doing, and hopefully we'll have you back in the not-too-distant future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zeb. Thank you, sir. Wow. I mean, kind of an assembly line, gruesome atmosphere of having these doctors fly in and fly out, and as the terminology, cut and run abortionists. Oh, my goodness, how sad. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. Gina, did you follow at all, and I want to get you on the air here a little bit, have you been following at all what happened with the NBA's Los Angeles Clippers owner?
I've caught bits and pieces, but I haven't really been following it.
Wow. I mean, this story, and if you want to pull it up and go along with me on this thing, I'd like, from the female standpoint, this really has got to be almost absurd as to how this thing has gone against the Los Angeles Clippers owner, Donald Sterling. Now, picture this. His wife, and she still is his wife, yesterday was sitting courtside at the game the Clippers had in the playoffs, but Donald Sterling and his girlfriend weren't there, and somehow, and I'm giving a quick synopsis on this, his girlfriend had taped a private conversation between him and her relationship, friendship with Magic Johnson and other blacks, and he was upset about that, and these remarks that were taped in a private conversation went viral. They're all over the world right now, and the NBA is calling for him to relinquish his hold as ownership on the Los Angeles Clippers, and this whole thing is just blown up into a huge can of worms. The players didn't want to play for the owner yesterday in the playoffs. They showed their rejection and revulsion of the owner by turning their uniforms inside out so it wouldn't say Clippers. This thing has got huge.
Ooh, yeah, very, very huge. It says, I'm actually pulled up the story. It says that the Players Association is demanding that he be barred from all playoff games this season. And the Clippers, of course, they staged a silent protest last night. And so, wow. He might not be the owner very much longer.
Well, and here's the deal. I want to go back to this, and I am not advocating anything he said, okay? I don't want some yo-yo out there to say, well, you must be a racist because you backed him. No, that's not the point. But, Gina, he was taped in a private conversation, and that private conversation was used against him. And I'll go back to our, your, my, everybody's First Amendment rights of free speech, whether it's absolutely bad politics, bad verbiage, whatever, we still have the right of free speech. And he was not informed of those remarks being taped. And now that conversation is being used against him. You got to admit there's two sides to the story.
There is two sides to the story. Number one, why was she recording that particular conversation? I do know that she is being brought, the girlfriend, mind you, the girlfriend is being brought up on a lawsuit from the wife of Sterling.
Yeah.
Because the wife is demanding $2.5 million back that Sterling has given to his girlfriend. And so this is just all part of somebody stirring the pot here.
But, you know, I guess I'm old school, and I'm going, holy cow, and maybe I'm not modernized enough, but now at the games, and I didn't know this, but at the games, the real Mrs. Sterling is there, and then the real Mr. Sterling is there with the real girlfriend, and the real girlfriend taped Mr. Sterling in his so-called racist remarks. Holy buckets, this is like a soap opera as the stomach turns.
Oh, I know, like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. And I think that it would probably be best for Sterling if he just kind of zipped it and got away from this girlfriend, because this girlfriend apparently is up to something. She's up to something. And regardless of whatever comments that he made, that was in a private conversation. It was not meant for the public to hear. Now it's been leaked out into the media, which, of course, the media is slamming him on it, rightfully so. But this girlfriend is up to something, and so she's stirring the pot to make herself look better.
Absolutely. And, in a racist society, and I think you'll go along with me on my verbiage, we live in a very racist society that no matter what you say, what you do, it can be perceived and conceived that you're trying to do something racial against another group of people. And even though his conversation was in a private conversation and it was taped and now it's just gone ballistic all over the world, the man said some very heinous things that shouldn't have been said. But, you go back to how big a mess this is. The Clippers basketball team, for the first time in their entire history, they finally have a basketball team. They finally have a contender for the NBA title.
And honestly, the players don't even want to play right now. And I honestly, I don't blame them.
But, when you think about Los Angeles, and I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't sports lovers, but when you think about this, and the words Los Angeles, naturally, when you talk basketball, you always put the connotation Lakers after Los Angeles, so the Kobe Bryants and everybody else. They are and ended up as one of the worst teams in the NBA this year, and the Los Angeles Clippers, with Blake Griffin and everybody else playing on that team, were outstanding, and here they really do have an honest shot at possibly winning the NBA title, and their owner shoots them all in the foot.
Well, and here's my thing. Maybe the team, because if you notice that they did lose last night, and so maybe the team, maybe they've just given up, and they're going to say, you know what, mister, we're not going to play for you anymore, so we're going to make sure that we lose all of these games so we don't make it to the playoffs.
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why, because professional pride comes in, and I honestly believe that they're headed back to Los Angeles right now to play the next playoff game, and I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that professional pride comes in, and I honestly think they'll play the best that they can play for themselves, not necessarily the team or the owner, but for themselves.
Well, one thing that I did notice throughout this news article that I've been going through is that Sterling has vowed that he's going to stay away from all of the games for the rest of the season throughout the playoffs, so he's not bringing that controversy on, courtside. And, honestly, I think that given the current circumstances, he needs to stay away from the court. So he's not affecting the players, but he really needs to make amends for the comments that he made specifically to his players.
And one of the dumbest comments that I heard last night, and I got to have you respond to this, is there was a courtside reporter that asked Mrs. Sterling if she had heard the tape, and she said, yes, I've heard the tape. And then was asked what she thought about the remarks from her husband, Donald Sterling, and then she made a very vague comment like, well, I'm not sure that the remarks or the voice were his. They've been married for all those years and all the problems, and she wasn't aware as to whether or not it was his voice. Come on, that's a cover-up from the get-go.
That's pleading the fifth, basically.
Amen.
That's what she's doing. She's pleading the fifth. She doesn't want to comment.
Well, and the bad part is, in, like I said, this racist society, here you have the coach of the Clippers, one of the greatest basketball players and coaches in the NBA, Doc Rivers. You have some outstanding talent on this team, and they're unified as a team, and this has got to hurt. And going back home to play tomorrow night in a home game, boy, the reaction from the fans, boy, the reaction from the newspapers and the media, boy, the reaction from the other team and the players themselves. Wow, that puts a lot of pressure on these guys trying to win a ball game.
Yeah, and they have one thing that they need to be focusing on, which is playing that ball game and winning it, and all of this stuff is just, adding more stress and tension and, just kind of clouding their brains against what they need to be focusing on, which is winning a basketball game.
Amen. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're going to have more in just a moment, and your calls are welcome, but right now it's time for a weather update. And, of course, our weather is brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls, and the very best of guns, ammo, and accessories at Red's Trading Post in Twin. Here now, Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Start of a brand spanking new week of UME and weather. Sun, clouds, and windy today. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour. That continued throughout much of the day. And into tonight, and then from tonight going into tomorrow, you got nice-looking weather and temperatures getting back up into the upper 60s. You're looking for a high today of 61. And an overnight low right around, close to freezing, about 34 to be exact. Tomorrow, more of the same, but no wind for a high of about 67 per mile. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Red's Trading Post, the best of guns, ammo, and accessories, and knowledge from their very, very knowledgeable staff at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd love to hear from you. We were visiting with Gina just a moment ago and about what happened down in L.A. with the Clippers and their franchise and the racism displayed by their owner. But I've got another form of racism to ask you about. Are you aware, Gina, who Elizabeth Warren is?
Yes.
Aha. You know the story about this lady, 64-year-old Democrat from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren. Do you know background on her?
I know that we have discussed it a little bit where when she was teaching at a university, she claimed to be of a Native American descent.
Okay, but remember the other day, and I think it was last week, either on Thursday or Wednesday, we brought this up about how I said the USA Today was running a full-page story about her and what a great politician she would be as a possible presidential nod, etc. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, another push for Elizabeth Warren in the parade section, the little magazine that comes with the Sunday newspapers, and they went on and on and on about the rise of Elizabeth Warren, the senator, and a new memoir, and how she is the epitome of the Democratic Party. How? When you sit there and you have your sins laid in front of the public to scrutinize, the lies about her family ancestry and everything, how all of a sudden has that been whitewashed to the point where she is now the face of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, well, nobody wants Hillary Clinton to be the face of the Democratic Party, nor does anybody want President Obama to be the face of the Democratic Party, so somebody has to be, for right, wrong, or indifferent.
You know, you just said something, though, on behalf of women. You said nobody wants Hillary Clinton. I'm scared of Hillary Clinton, and most all the women that I've talked to over the last couple of weeks, and I said, basically, if Hillary runs for president, and she still hasn't made the official nod, would you vote for her because of her being a woman or what she stands for? I have yet, and I'm serious. I took a little poll at Lunch Bunch the other day, too. I haven't found one single woman that would vote for Hillary Clinton.
I would not vote for Hillary Clinton. She's got too much baggage with her, and if when I vote for a president, and the next time I vote for the president, I'm going to completely vet them, but she's just got too much baggage with her. She just needs to disappear. She cannot be the face of the Democratic Party.
All right, I think I heard the cow moo, right? All right, yes. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning again.
Yes, sir.
Now, this Elizabeth Warren, they're building her up, just the liberal media, just like they did Obama. They don't get the facts straight. They're all a bunch of damn liars. And if people can't see through it, then I'm ready to give up.
Yeah, but Al, same thing to what I was mentioning to Gina. Did you see the story in the Parade magazine, yesterday's paper?
I started reading it, and I just got fed up with it and just quit reading it.
Oh, I mean, they go on and they rail about how valuable she is and all about her childhood and her politics and how she's been the rising star. How do you overcome something so fast as to being basically a blatant liar about your past?
That's why these Democrats get away with it, because they can build up lie after lie after lie, and nobody counteracts them about it. Tell the truth, and you might do a better job.
Well, I couldn't agree more, but it seems like the status of politicians on both sides of the aisle, there seems to be a little bit of a lot of the easing of the truth.
I'll bet you a $20 bill, I got more Indian blood in me than she's got in her. And I can prove it. Well,
and the same for the lovely lady I live with. There's no question about it. Gina's has some American Indian blood in her, and Deanne, Cherokee, and boy, do I realize that when she loses her temper. I mean, who am I to stand in the way?
That's right.
All right, my friend.
Don't mess around, white boy. You're going to lose some hair.
Thank you for being so optimistic. Have a good day. Thank you. All right. I was just appalled, though, that USA Today and all the newspapers yesterday that filled in with the Parade magazine, and on page 9 there is a great big story about Elizabeth Warren, the senator and author that now is taking politics by storm. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Good morning.
Hi, Helen.
I was wondering, we didn't have access to that article, but I was wondering, did they have to mention her illegitimate child?
No.
Well, you look at her daughter, and you look at Wes Hubble, and if that isn't his child, I will eat the newspaper.
Well, I certainly hope you don't have to sit down and ingest that as a part of your daily dining, but I will check some things out, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Helen. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. One thing about Helen, she's going to tell you like it is, and you don't have to worry about where she stands. She's going to let you know. One thing I want to mention, too, quickly, the Chadwick Sports Grill. Oh, my. What have they got on the menu for today? And I'll probably get corrected the way I pronounce this. Is it chicken paprikash over steamed rice, veggies, and super salad? Oh, my. Just $8.95. And the price for the seniors, just $5.95. That's all at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, the food. Oh, the people. Oh, the environment. Fantabulous. You're going to love it. Chicken, I said it, paprikash, I hope that's correct, over steamed rice, veggies, and super salad. That's the special for today at the Chadwick Sports Grill. You stop in and enjoy. Got time for another call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd like to hear from you. Coming up this next hour, we're very fortunate to have Matt Dempsey, and he's going to be talking about why the president is dragging his feet through the oil sands of not signing for the Keystone Pipeline, and also about billionaire Tom Steyers and his money that he's given to the Democrats to not back Keystone. And then at 10:30 this this morning. I'm really looking forward to having the former United States diplomat to Russia, and that's Mr. Paul Janicek coming on the program and talking really about the mess we're in now with all the encroachment of Russia into the Ukraine and possibly beyond. So it's going to be very interesting with that man. We will be back in just a couple of minutes. We're going to listen now to all the news from ABC. Quick reminder in my public service announcements, Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate Night will be held this Thursday, May 1st at the Wilson Theater. The meet and greet will begin at 6:30 p.m. with the forum beginning at 7, and they're going to have Brian Smith there and Jim Schmelnick, Phil McGrain, Chris Trupas, John Enyon, and running for Minidoka County Sheriff, they're going to have Eric Snar, Ken Menzel, Chris Jensen, Jim Broner. Absolutely a great Meet the Candidate Night this Thursday, May 1st at the Wilson Theater. Don't miss it. Starting time at 6:30 p.m. Turn it over to ABC News. We'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. Hour number 3, Zebeth Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget Big Spring Tire Sale going on right now. And also some of our great advertisers, and they include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment, but before we do, I want to remind you every Thursday at 9:12 right here on Zebeth Ranch, we have Vicky's Country Gardens present a program named after me, Gardening for Idiots. Believe me, she's helped me a lot. 185 South, 600 West of Paul, Vicky's Country Gardens. And don't forget, Mother's Day is coming up May 11th. Order your baskets now. And Vicky has all the pre-potted baskets, or she can help you build your own. So stop in Vicky's Country Gardens, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. And on Thursdays, the program, of course, called Gardening for Idiots. Absolutely named after me. By the way, also, I want to remind you again that the great big meet and greet is going to take place at Sweetheart Manor, and that's coming up on May 8th. What is the meet and greet? Well, it's sponsored by District 27 legislators, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood for Governor Butch Otter and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Thursday, May 8th, 6 to 9, hors d'oeuvres are going to be served, and of course, it's at Sweetheart Manor, 217 South Highway 27 in Burley, again starting at 6 p.m. on May 8th. We'll see you there, along with the Governor Butch Otter and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the phone lines right now and say good morning to the oil sands fact-check policy expert, Matt Dempsey. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you on the program this morning, sir. Matt, every day that goes by, I honestly believe, and I've said this before to other members of the oil and gas industry, that we are not going to see the president take his pen and his phone and call anybody or sign anything for Keystone. I think he's been bought out by the environmental movement. What are your thoughts?
Well, for the time being, it sounds like you're in a better position to make that argument, given that he's delayed again the Keystone XL pipeline, at least past the midterm election. But what we do know is that the American public overwhelmingly supports Keystone. A couple polls show that it's the highest support it's been at in 5 years.
Matt, tell me this. What is going on with Keystone? What makes Keystone and the pipeline and the signing for it any different than what's taken place literally almost 1,000 times with all the other pipelines? What makes Keystone such a volatile issue?
Well, it's a good question, because what it boils down to is that Keystone's being used as a symbol by the environmental community. By certain groups anyway. And they're using this as a litmus test and suggesting that it's time to end fossil fuels in the United States. This isn't about a pipeline. This is about ending oil, gas, and coal across our country. And that's how extreme these groups are.
But we will never, and you're the expert on this, but we will never, ever, not in my lifetime, not in yours, not in anybody's lifetime, according to the way this is set up mechanically for the engines, the airplanes, transit across our country, we're not going to be able to do away with oil for a long time to come. So why see a society go down the drain? You're not going to push a John Deere tractor up and down a beet field with a propeller. Why don't we embrace the fact that we're rich in energy resources and utilize everything we can to put America back up on top?
Well, you make a great point, and that's the point that numerous newspaper editorial boards make across the country. And in fact, I don't know if you've seen the Washington Post editorial board even, which is pretty well known for being left of center, has said that President Obama's decision to delay the pipeline announcement is absurd. And so I think that kind of speaks for about 70% of the United States.
Okay, where's the power, though? Matt, where's our power? Where's our voice? Why aren't we being heard? How come there's not an outrage? How come people, when they go to the pump, and like my case, I'm paying almost $4.10 a gallon for diesel for my outfit. I have to fill up twice a week. I'm spending over $1,500 a month on fuel costs. That money could be better served going to businesses and resurging the economies. Where's the outcry?
Well, it really comes down to Tom Steyer, a billionaire activist, environmental, that has an inside track in the White House. You know, the Washington Post had an article recently saying billionaire has unique role in official Washington climate change radical. And it says that he has a special critical behind-the-scenes role in helping shape the country's national energy policy. So the question now becomes, what will Congress do? And right now we know that the chair of the Senate Energy Committee, Mary Landrieu, is looking to hold hearings and to bring about bipartisan legislation. The question is, will someone like Majority Leader Harry Reid allow a bill like that to come up on the floor of the Senate? But that's what it's going to take at this point.
Okay, so you don't sound very optimistic to me. I mean, you're not standing there with your pom-poms and ready to jump up like a Dallas Cowgirl cheerleader and say, oh, boy, there's bright things on the horizon, whether it's Keystone or energy in general. You don't sound very happy about what's going on, Matt.
Well, you know, again, when it comes to the fact that there's so much support for developing our natural resources across the country, and it can be stalled by one billionaire that has the ear of the president, that's disconcerting. But it looks like this question will come up in terms of the midterm elections. Already we've seen that a lot of these big donors are starting to walk back some of their concerns about Keystone Pipeline, saying, well, we can still fund the party over principle. And so we know that Keystone has the support of the members of Congress. We know that it has widespread support. So if there is a way forward, it's going to be coming up in this election.
What would it do, in your opinion, honestly? I mean, we talk about Keystone, we talk about the benefits, we talk about the jobs, we talk about the possible lower in price at the pump, but you're the man. You know more about it than I do. What would it do if he signed for Keystone?
Well, it'd do a couple things. First of all, as you mentioned, 42,000 jobs. And that's why it's got the support of Terry O'Sullivan, who is the head of the laborers union here in Washington, D.C. But it also ensures that we have energy security. And really, the question is, where do you get your oil from? If the pipeline's not approved, we'll continue to be forced to get oil from Venezuela. But if we approve the pipeline, we know we get it from a trusted source in Canada. So when it comes down to the pipeline, you know you're getting energy security, you know you're getting jobs, you know it's going to have minimal impact on the environment thanks to the Obama State Department. So as numerous newspapers across the country have said, it's time to approve Keystone XL.
You know, I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and he's a wise old sage, and he said this is all a plot to keep the oil sands coming into our country via rail so that the environmentalists can pray for and also possibly enact a hazard with the rail system, and then they can say, gotcha, shut it down, and they win on both fronts. They've stopped Keystone, and they could also stop the rail service. And you know what? I don't trust them. I think that's possibly true.
Well,
what we do know from the State Department is that the pipeline is the most effective way to get oil to market.
That's right.
It's the safest. It's an opportunity for to get the benefits in this country.
We have a caller with a question for you, Matt. Stand by. Caller, go ahead, please.
Just a little bit ago, you were talking about environmental issues, and the pipeline, there's excuses. The excuse always boils down to environmental issues, and when you stop and think about the intent of the Obama administration to cut our defense spending and literally infuse that money in for environmental issues and things that they want to do across this nation and the world, with the Center for American Progress, Institute for Policy Studies, the Sustainable Defense Task Force, and all this Agenda 21 stuff, and I'll just let you hang up and then comment. Thanks.
Matt, would you comment on that caller's queries, if you would, please?
Well, sure, and I think, it was interesting you brought up Center for American Progress, because you know who's on the board of Center for American Progress? Tom Steyer. And who used to be at Center for American Progress? John Podesta, who is a senior advisor in the Obama administration. In fact, John Podesta had lobbied President Obama to make Tom Steyer the Secretary of Energy a few years ago. So again, it gets back to this point of the access within the White House controlling what's happening on Keystone and oil and gas development in this country.
Matt, we have another call, but I want to say this first of all. I understand that Steyer, the multi-billionaire, founded a climate-oriented group called Next Gen Climate. Basically, in a short nutshell, what kind of a business is it, and what is he promoting through his business?
Well, we've learned a lot about it over just the last couple of weeks. He has had a number of donors come and meet with him and talk about standing up a pact to spend money on anti-Keystone efforts. But what's been revealed as of late is that didn't work. They've got no place to go spend their money because there's so many Democrats in support of Keystone. And a number of these tight races are in red states. And so he's had to back off and say, well, I'll still support pro-Keystone candidates because I want to make sure that the Democrats hold on to the U.S. Senate. Mm-hmm. And so NextGen is really looking more and more like a Democratic machine than it is about environmental policy.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead with your question, please, for Matt Dempsey.
2 comments and a question. The railroad, as I understand, is a big donor to Obama. To ship oil by railroad costs $30 a barrel to Texas. To ship it by pipeline is $10 a barrel. Why don't and they only need permission or his approval to go across into Canada? Why don't they build that pipeline from North Dakota to Texas to start with? And get that implemented, then I believe the rest of it would come a lot easier.
That's a good comment. Go ahead, if you would, please, Matt, respond to that.
Well, first I'll just point out that, when it comes to the environmental impact, the State Department shows that on greenhouse gases is what, that's what matters to the president and the far left. The greenhouse gas emissions are far fewer from the pipeline than from rail. So if you're an environmental activist, you should be favoring pipelines at this point. But in terms of moving forward, we know that this oil is going to get to market, whether Canada takes it to the East Coast or the West Coast. It would be preferential to go down to the Gulf Coast so that the United States could get the benefits of it. Because there is some concern that Canada will end up just shipping this oil over to China and avoiding the U.S. altogether.
This is what scares me, Matt, and I know you're on top of this and study this every day, but it seems like we're doing everything we can in this country to not help us, the United States, and we're bending over backwards to aid and abet, whether it's Brazil with their oil production or whether it's China with the purchases of oil. We're doing everything to help everybody flourish except ourselves, and I, for one, am fed up with it. Why isn't America calling their congressmen and senators and being outraged over this?
Well, I think the good news is that in Congress there is an overwhelming bipartisan support for Keystone XL, and now it's a matter of getting a bill onto the floor of the Senate. And if that doesn't work, it's about the upcoming elections.
The upcoming elections. But now, what about the Democrats that are in trouble, whether it's Landrieu in Louisiana or many, many others? And Steyer's money. Is his money enough to thwart their complaints against Keystone?
Well, Steyer has had to come out and say, at first he was talking about targeting Landrieu. But, of course, he understands that it's more important for him to hold on to the Democratic majority. So he's going to stay out of Louisiana. And, in fact, he and his group, Next Gen, and there's a couple of other PACs just like it, just announced on the weekend that they're going to go ahead and support pro-Keystone candidates, Democrats, and to ensure that the Democrats hold the majority in the Senate.
We have another caller with a question, and go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Thank you very much.
You just asked a question, and I'm going to give you an answer. You said, why isn't people calling the representatives and senators? What good does it do to call them? They don't do nothing.
All right. Well, we'll have Maddox give us his reasoning on this. Matt, the caller's a little disgruntled like all of us are. We seem to get form letters back from our congressmen and senators and not really a strong approach against what's happening back on the Potomac. How would you respond to that caller saying we get nothing back from our senators and congressmen?
Well, it's understandable. When you look at Keystone, it's been 5 years of delay. You're looking for action from Congress, and there were a number of Democrats that had said, well, we need to wait and see it. Let the State Department process work its way out. And once that wraps up, then we're going to urge the president to act. In fact, about 12 Democrats sent a letter to President Obama a couple weeks ago saying, we need you to decide by, I believe it was by June 1st, one way or the other on Keystone. And just a week after that letter came to the president, that's when Obama announced he was going to delay this past the election. So clearly there was about politics. And so now the question becomes, what do these members of Congress do? Will this be the time to finally act? Obama's told them directly that he's going to punt, so it's going to be up to Congress to decide if now is the time to finally act.
All right, another caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Good morning. I don't understand why Obama does not want coal burn, and yet he can't ship it fast enough to China. Ship is leaving the West Coast, going to China, so they can have coal for their industry. Can you give me any reason at all?
Go ahead, Matt, if you would, please. Thank you.
Well, it's a question of when President Obama's up for re-election in 2012, he went around the country talking about an all-of-the-above approach to energy. He talked about his support for oil, gas, and coal. Of course, he got re-elected, and now we know he's bringing regulation after regulation down the pike through different agencies. So, this was the question, and now we're getting the reality check of what this president is about. And of course, this decision to punt on Keystone is the most clearest signal yet of where he stands on oil and gas development.
Matt, looking at it from purely an outsider's viewpoint, and as much as I can read and study on this energy issue, I sit here and I question how stupid and naive we are as an American public. We need the coal production. We need the energy grid, the electricity grid, to be funded by a cheap electrical source, and that is coal. And we're not going to use solar. It's not going to work. It's not going to be wind power that's going to keep everything on the electrical grid. And basically, we have nothing. And the strongest country in the world is subservient right now to whatever the Democrats and environmentalists want to let us use. And that basically is nothing.
Well, we certainly are experiencing a oil and gas boom in this country that, if allowed to flourish, would be providing thousands of more jobs than it already is now. And, of course, when it comes to something like Keystone, all it takes is for the president to finally move forward and to say yes after 5 years.
Okay. Caller, quickly. I've only got 2 minutes left. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I read the other day where China had a pipeline that is leaking and contaminated the water there. A pretty serious issue, but that beside the point. I don't understand why they want to build a pipeline down through the United States into the Gulf Coast to a refinery or whatever, to the ships, when these storms hit down south, and every time a storm hits, they raise the price of gas. Why don't they just forget the pipeline, build a refinery right there on the United States border by Canada, North Dakota, South Dakota, build a refinery there and bring down the price of gas?
That's a good point. Go ahead, Matt, please.
Well, the infrastructure is in place except for this last component of the pipeline, and so this would be the easiest, cheapest way to get oil to market. And so if you want to make sure that the price of gas is stable or even lower, your best bet is to have it go through the Gulf Coast where you already have the infrastructure in place.
And I would imagine that as far as building a refinery, you would be better served trying to walk on water before that'll happen, right?
I think you nailed it right on the head there.
All right. Matt, I want to tell you thank you very much for being on the program. And the oil sands fact-check policy expert, Matt Dempsey, thank you so much. Please come back on the air in the future, and thank you for all your knowledge here this morning.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. I just hope and pray that Obama and Stiers and the rest of them fade away, please. We need the oil. We need the oil sands. We need the pipeline. There's so many things we need that would refurbish us as a strong, energy-efficient nation. We're not going to be that way with the likes of Obama, ever. And it's got to change. Ladies and gentlemen, on Thursdays, we're very blessed to have a segment on my program called School Days in Cassia County, and it's brought to us by two wonderful businesses. First of all, A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And at A Child's World, they have over like 300 dresses, plus many, many more arriving daily. And if the ladies are looking for a dress, believe me, they have the dresses. And they've got wonderful Mother's and Father's Day gifts. And don't forget, always gift wrapping is free. And they've got a new baby registry over there. Stop in and register with your baby. Oh my goodness, they've got everything for the newborns. And it's a great family store. A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. Along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. Life-saving colonoscopies are performed by a board-certified doctor, saving you hundreds of dollars. Outpatient surgeries performed right there at Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. And the Ambulatory Surgery Center, along with A Child's World, bringing you A Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center School Days in Cassia County. Caller, good morning. Quickly, I have 1 minute before the break. Go ahead.
Yes, I was hoping that they could get this pipeline through and do it quicker by ensuring that they use most of that for America's domestic use only. And I find it ironic that Neil Young's down there in the Midwest causing protests against the pipeline when he's used enough alcohol and drugs to probably fuel cars and stuff in the States for years.
You know, the whole thing with the pipeline, Chief, is that all America right now is being held hostage by an environmental movement with Tom Stiers and others that basically own and control Barack Hussein Obama. And this whole situation at the pump, whether it's $4, $5, $6, or like they want to see it go to $8 a gallon just to eliminate you and I from any public and private transportation, is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for your call. I've got to run back over to the main studios right now for this break at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to the last half hour of our program this morning on a Monday. And I think, Gina, what we'll do, rather than interrupt our guest in midstream, what we'll do is have the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. And don't forget, they've been in southern Idaho for over 20 years, offering quality products at very reasonable rates. In addition to the expert meat cutting, they also have their own smokehouse. And remember, they're selling taste one bite at a time at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Set of a brand spanking new week of UME and weather. Sun, clouds, and windy today. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour. That continued throughout much of the day. And into tonight, and then from tonight going into tomorrow, you got nice-looking weather and temperatures getting back up into the upper 60s. Looking for a high today of 61. And an overnight low right around, close to freezing, about 34 to be exact. Tomorrow, more of the same, but no wind for a high of about 67 per mile. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. And believe me, the best of quality products, very, very good at expert meat cutting, and they're selling taste one bite at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the phone lines right now, and I'm very honored to have a former international security expert and U.S. diplomat to Russia and the Ukraine, Mr. Paul Janicek, on the program with us. Good morning, Mr. Janicek. How are you?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you. I'm terrific.
Well, let me get right into the crux of things. When I read that you were the former international security expert and U.S. diplomat to Russia and the Ukraine, you, sir, probably know much more than anybody else as to how extensive and dangerous the situation on the eastern Ukraine is with Vladimir Putin and the Russians. Please tell us your perspective on where we're at today with the involvement and aggression by Russia into the Ukraine.
Well, I would say it's a tricky situation more than anything. It is, and it's an ugly one at that. What I would say about where Russia stands vis-a-vis the Ukraine is that they would like to establish this as a sphere of influence. What most people don't understand about Russia is not so much that they want to reestablish a Soviet state, so much as they want to reestablish a Russian empire. If you look at the travail of human history where the Russians are concerned, their interest in all things, generally speaking, is that an elite clique out of Moscow wants to run Eastern Europe and probably get their hands on as much as they can of Western Europe. For the most part, it is a dangerous situation. It is a situation where things could easily get out of control. But these people, who are as counterintuitive as they are in their decision-making, or as crafty as they are, they're not suicidal in their thinking. So there is a logic here, and we just have to come to understand what it is.
All right, Mr. Janicek, let me ask you this. I follow world politics probably more than most. I'm seeing a leader of this country, Barack Hussein Obama, as basically, and I'm very blunt in my terminology, a dog that has lost his teeth. I don't think that we're respected around the world. I don't care if it's the Middle East. I don't care if it's Russia. Respond to that. Am I right or wrong?
You are absolutely right, and you are right in this regard, is that American rudderlessness, the perception of American weakness has emboldened so many people who are foreign leaders and thinkers to look at the United States and say, this is a dog without fangs. They don't respect us. They don't look at our threats or ultimatums as being ultimately anything that would affect an outcome. They know they can get away with it, and that's why we are where we are with Ukraine.
Let me go back to 1960s, and of course John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev and the Cuban Missile Crisis and the threat of having world annihilation in a nuclear war, and move that ahead now to 2014. My question to you is, and you'd know this better than anybody, how strong really is Russia today?
They are a paper tiger, but unfortunately, they have gauged us as being even worse of a paper tiger. The Russians have a credible deterrent capability in terms of dissuading people from aggressing against them. The unfortunate thing is that we've demonstrably shown the world that we can't do that. And so therefore, we are in the weaker position because they have gauged us as being so. If we could get into the politics of nuclear arsenals, and I could put together a persuasive case that we are in the dominant position. The unfortunate thing is appearance is everything, and we're losing that game. For a president who is more interested in appearance, he is losing the game internationally.
All right, but now, looking at this thing from the outside in, Mr. Janicek, here we've let the encroachment start, and we've come out with this, well, we're going to slap your hand if you do it the next time, and if you do it again, we're going to slap your hand again, and we never follow up on anything. What can we do at this juncture to help the people in the Ukraine and also to stop and thwart any more advances?
With this particular president, that's a difficult determination to arrive at, to be blunt. You look at one of the things about the Bush administration, which I cheerfully served in, one of the things about the Bush administration was that they would always threaten, okay, if you don't like our policy, we're just going to put Cheney in charge. And let's face it, Vice President Cheney, he was a very resolute fellow. You may not like him, or you may like him. The fact of the matter is that this is a White House that, in dealing with the ambiguities of international situations, they do very poorly. And we are not playing the game to the standards of those who we're up against.
You said we are playing the game very poorly, but what about our allies, supposedly all encompassed with the group called NATO? Does NATO have any teeth, or is it just a worthless organization at this juncture?
It has teeth in the sense that the NATO militaries, the armies and the air forces, as well as the navies that comprise NATO, they're not very well trained. But what is ironic is that they're better trained than the Russians are, and the Russians are actually fearful of them. What the Russians are really more fearful of is the Article 5 guarantee under the North Atlantic Treaty, which says an attack upon one is an attack upon all, and so therefore the United States gets pulled into any conflict. That is usually what keeps the Russians up at night. The fact of the matter is that the NATO alliance has done something very effective, and this is going on 10 years ago, where in the Baltic states of Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, they created a security contingent to ensure that the Russians would not enter the airspace of those three states. And it's basically a security contingent that exists to do nothing more than support 4 fighter jets that are sitting on ready alert. And the Russians look at that as a credible deterrent. Ever since they've been there, nothing really of any significance has occurred. So they look at it as having some teeth, but it doesn't have the teeth that as you suggest, that you could imagine that if the United States is not there, it becomes much more hollow.
Do they feel in the Ukraine this morning, Mr. Janicek, like they've been used up and expounded as worthless items that nobody wants to come in and protect? What's the feeling of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian army? What are they feeling right now, knowing that really nobody's coming to help them?
I would say that they feel like they've been used. Let's not forget that it was George H.W. Bush who said we should not, I'm paraphrasing here, but we should not give in to crazy notions of freedom when the Ukrainians were rebelling against the Russians and they wanted to throw the Russians out. We did a very poor job of supporting them in their bid for freedom. I would say they're in about the same spot because they look at places like Nagorno-Karabakh, the disputed region between Azerbaijan and Armenia, as well as Abkhazia, which is a disputed region between Russia, and specifically the region where Sochi is located, where we had the Winter Olympics. Abkhazia and Georgia, and they look at Transnistria, which is a disputed Russian region with Moldova, and they're beginning to look at the American word as being valueless.
When you look at the overall picture of where we are today or where we should be today with international security or the lack of, and when you look at the tinderbox in the Middle East and how Iran is basically laughing at us, Assad in Syria laughing at us, the rest of the Middle East laughing at us because, like I said earlier, a dog with no teeth. Isn't this really a focal point as to what's going to happen in the future worldwide instead of just with Russia?
Your instincts serve you very well in that regard, and the heck of it is that we are undertaking decisions as a country, or not undertaking decisions as a country, where we're just making our position that much worse. And we have a debt and a deficit that is going to destroy us, and it's going to destroy our ability to project power. And I'm extremely fearful of that. And I am not an alarmist. I believe that we are heading down a road where our word just doesn't have what it used to.
When you look at the overall situation with Russia, and again going back to Putin and power and guns and weapons, their economy is not by any standard up to ours, even though we're going through some hardships. Where are they getting the money to possibly raise the standard of their security and their armed warfare? How are they getting the guns? How are they going to get the weapons? And is that something that we need to fear in the very short, near-term future?
The Russians have always been very good launderers of cash. They know that the ruble is worthless, or near worthless, I should say. So they've always been very good at squirreling money away. The problem is they can't do so in quantities that would make most countries think twice. So they can squirrel money away enough to be an irritant, but they can't squirrel away in the quantities that would really arouse attention. Because if they did, because I don't want to violate my security agreement with the State Department, they can't do so in the kinds of the amount that would actually arrest the attention of the Western world.
With the agreements that we have been signing, basically to make severe cuts to our military, I read in one of the cheat sheets about having you on the program today that Russian nuclear inspectors visited Montana nuclear facilities and are passing on our cutbacks. Would you explain that to me, and then we'll take another call?
Okay. Well, that is part of a reciprocal agreement that we have with the Russians. Problem comes in the sense that even though they can inspect our nuclear arsenals, we can inspect theirs. The problem comes in that this is a matter of timing. These people, they are abusing their rights under the arms control agreements we have with one another. Yes, they can do this. They can come look at our nuclear arsenals. That's a fact of life under the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. The problem comes in that even though we have a right of refusal in these particular inspections, we didn't exercise the right of refusal. We should have told them, considering the tension between the Ukraine and Russia, we are simply not going to allow you to do this now. Yes, you have this right to do it, but we're not going to let you do it now.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, I'm short on time. Go ahead, please.
Well, good morning, Zeb. Great show. Just wanted to get your callers, your guest's opinion on what does he think about, this is all part of the big plan with Obama, because back in 2012, Obama was caught talking to either, I can't remember if it was an ambassador to Russia or Putin himself, saying, Medvedev, sorry, yeah, that was the guy's name, and said, hey, you know what, I'll have a lot more power, once my re-election's taken care of. And so I don't think Obama really plans to do anything about it. So,
that's an excellent point, caller. I appreciate that. Mr. Janicek, what about that? Obama was caught in an off-mic situation saying that once he's re-elected, he'd have more flexibility. Does that terminology and that phrase still come back to haunt the American people?
It should, in the sense that he was speaking with Mr. Medvedev, and he had the hot mic on, and the whole world caught it. And frankly, most people wouldn't believe this, but the West Europeans caught it the most because the U.S. nuclear deterrent protects them as well. The problem with all of it is that it was a very candid look into his negotiating style, which is that he doesn't have a negotiating style. And this man, I don't believe the President of the United States is necessarily malintended towards the United States strategic interests so much as he is an incompetent narcissist. I think he looks upon all the interests that he has as being nothing more than an extension of himself.
When you say that, and I agree with you, when you look at the overall politics of a man that is basically playing Russian roulette, and that's not a pun, with the world today, how volatile is this situation on a scale of 1 to 10 within the next 1, 5, or 10 years?
Well, the current American strategic situation is extremely volatile. I'm beginning to believe, because I also served in the Middle East as a diplomat, I'm also beginning to believe that the situation that we are setting ourselves up for in the Middle East, where strength is everything, is more explosive than 9/11 was. We have people who are in complicated relationships with the United States who are not taking us seriously. They are to the point now where they're in fact doubting where we're coming from, and it's going to be a difficult spot for us to get out of.
Once you've established, and this is my final question, but once you've established kind of a lapdog diplomacy to the point where you're trying to get along with everybody and you're trying to make friends with them and you're cutting back your military, are we at a point in the United States history to where we can never regain the power with the kind of a leftist thought that we have to be in a form of appeasement with everybody?
We are in a situation where I'm afraid that because of the budgetary constraints we're under, where the best option is quickly becoming isolation above everything else, and that is a bad spot to be in because our interests are still engaged around the world. And when we have to do so at the goodwill of the people who share those interests, we're just in a bad place. It's not going to be something that we can recover from easily.
You know, Mr. Janicek, I thank you for coming on the program this morning, and you've got to make one promise. I'm going to keep your name, number, and everything. I'd like to have you back in the future, discuss this again on another segment, but really, God's blessings, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, it was truly my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I apologize if I just zipped through my points, but thank you.
No, sir, fine. I appreciate it. Mr. Paul Janicek, and former international security expert and U.S. diplomat to Russia and the Ukraine, giving us straight answers about the mess that we're in right now over in that region of the world. I'll take some calls here in just a moment, but first and foremost, I want to remind you about Mother's Day is right around the corner, May 11th. Don't forget that. And Burley Glass at 1029 Overland in Burley with Gentle Ben and the crew say, hey, springtime, Mother's Day, what a great time to think about new windows and save energy efficiency. That's right. Old drafty windows, often responsible for about 40 to 50% of the heat loss or gained in your home. So check it out today and give them a call, 678-1459. I know these people. They put my windows in. They are excellent at Burley Glass, 1029 Overland in Burley. Also, K&R Rental says, hey, we've got everything you need. That's right. We've got the tools you need to get your property in shape for this summer with the best service, prices, and quality parts to get the job done. They're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's K&R Rentals, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there 1 mile north of exit 208 on the Burley Paul Highway. Don't you forget K&R Rentals. Absolutely good folks. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. That gentleman, Paul Janicek, really laying it on the line in an open, honest, approved way this morning, as he has been the ambassador, I guess. Not the ambassador. What I'm trying to say is the former international security expert and diplomat to Russia and the Ukraine. And we are going to try to have him back on the program in about another 10 days for kind of an update as to where we are currently with the world situation over in the Ukraine. Don't forget, too, big tire sale. I finally stuttered and stammered till I got the copy. I was looking all over my desk, and it was laying right in front of me. Great big tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and they've got tires like the Ultra Z900, their best all-season touring tire, on sale. You better believe it, for your cars. And for the pick-em-up trucks, they've got the Open Country AT2, the best traction light truck tire, on sale. Along with all the tires on sale, don't forget they've got front-end alignments, shocks, and struts, the very, very best in brake service, by professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience. Along with batteries and, of course, shocks and struts, everything for your driving safety, right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Let's get Gina on the phone for a minute. She's always listening and has an opinion on various things. I found that gentleman to be very interesting and informative, and quite frankly, he scared me a little bit.
Definitely a scary topic when we're dealing with Putin and Russia and what's going on over there.
But you know, Gina, I don't think for the first time in all my years, have I felt so insecure as an American citizen with an administration that basically has nothing but just the same old rhetoric all the time. You step over that red line and look out. You step over that red line again and look out. Well, don't you dare step over it again. There's nothing to back up any toughness.
No, they're more concerned about putting selfies on Twitter and Instagram than they are about actually implementing policies here in the United States.
You know, what you just said is really true, and this administration basically has nothing more than an image. They don't have anything tougher than that. And when you talk about how the Russians are here in our country checking our Montana's facilities, our nuclear facilities, but we're only going to see, and we're only going to check on what they want us to see over there in Putin's Russia.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's true. Yeah, and I'm sitting here and I'm actually looking at the New York Times. I brought up what was going on in Russia, you know, Obama on Russia.
Yeah.
And apparently today the administration has ordered travel bans and asset freezes for 7 Russian officials, including 2 said to be in Mr. Putin's inner circle. But really, you know, is this what they really want us to know? Or, you know, are they just kind of feeding us just little bits and pieces of information?
I got to tell you that you probably don't follow NBA basketball, but remember, and I think the guy's name is Kirilenko. He used to play with the Utah Jazz, and I believe he's playing for the Brooklyn Nets right now. He took a lot of the money that he earned here in the United States, went back home to Russia, and you know what he opened up 7 of back over in Russia?
McDonald's?
No. Hooters. I'm serious. I am plumb serious. You talk about the westernization of Russia because Kirilenko goes back over to Russia and opens up 7 Hooters.
Hey, I'm sure he thinks that is money well spent.
I think he does. Listen, I knew that would draw a chuckle, but it's true. Tomorrow on the program, we've got a lot of great people coming on, including Senator Dean Cameron and Dr. History and many, many more on Tuesdays, so don't miss the programs. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll start things rolling right here at 8:06 tomorrow morning. And remember, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Thanks, everybody, for your great phone calls. Have a good one. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow at 8:06.